If you've been wondering what an October surprise might look like, well, this morning we got our clearest sign yet of a coordinated effort by the mainstream media to silence conservative voices across YouTube and social media platforms. Of course, we saw this coming. We've been talking about this for months here on the show, that in fact, these big tech platforms were going to do massive censorship ahead of the election. I'm surprised that they're going to do it in earnest just 7 days before the election, but I think they realize what a dumpster fire everything is right now for Kamala Harris.
Well, recall what happened, though, in 2016 when the media went all mea culpa, saying it was our fault that Trump got elected because we gave him such a big platform. They went full force against him in 2020. They're doing this again because they think that they can make or break people and that it's their responsibility to take down any voices that may be against the Democratic Party. There's no simpler way to see it. So it's full on egotism.
Yeah, right. They think that they're the arbiters of truth. They need to protect us all. They need to protect us all, like they did from the Hunter Biden laptop story. They protected us there, didn't they? They also protected us from the Russiagate hoax, right? Sure, they did. In fact, they perpetrated it. So Tucker Carlson last night received this text message. I'll show you all three screenshots in a second, but this was Tucker posted this on X a few hours ago after he received a text message from a reporter at the New York Times. Now, I want to go through these text messages. I'm going to read them verbatim for you. Let me put on my spectacles. Good day, Mr. Carlson. I hope you're well. I'm Nico Grant, a reporter at the New York Times. I wanted to give you an opportunity to comment for an upcoming article that takes a look at how political commentators have discussed the upcoming election on YouTube. We rely on analysis conducted by researchers at Media Matters for America. I love that they rely on analysis.
You don't do it yourself, New York Times?
No, they rely on the liberal-backed David Brock Media Matters for America, as Glenn Greenwald has pointed out, one of the most corrupt organizations in all of media. But you're going to rely on them to get your analysis.
That's not reporting. That's parroting.
So you're going to get your liberal researchers and Media Matters to do your work for you. Could you kindly provide us with a comment or decline to comment by the end of the day tomorrow, Tuesday, October 29th? Thanks so much for your time. By the way, whose schedule, you reach out to him like he has to respond to you?
By your deadline?
Who the F do you think you are? The New York Times, one of the most corrupt publications in the world, the mouthpiece for the deep state of the United States, an FBI whistleblower who told me when they want to leak stories, you go to the New York Times because they are as corrupt as they come. So who are you to make demands on Tucker's time? You have until the end of the day tomorrow to give me a response. Middle finger to you. Go suck it. Here are the points we plan to include, the New York Times writes. Media Matters identified 286 YouTube videos between May and August that contain election misinformation, including narratives that have been debunked or are not supported with credible evidence. Researchers identified videos posted by you in those 4 months that contain election misinformation. Now, we feature a clip of you saying, quote, all the sadness we've seen after the clearly blank election. All these bad things happen, but people I know love each other more. I also have a few questions. Number one, are you a member of the YouTube Partner Program? Number two, if so, how frequently does YouTube demonetize your videos? Number three, has YouTube sent you messages, emails, or notices in the last year that your content contains misinformation? Thanks for your time.
So you see what they're doing here is they're angling to frame YouTube for things they don't like.
Right. Angling how?
Does YouTube ever tell you that your videos contain misinformation so that not only will Tucker Carlson's content be maligned, but also YouTube for allowing him to have a free voice, which he said when he went on X saying, I'm going to speak only in the places that allow me to speak. And if they don't, then I will leave. And so they're setting up another hit on YouTube for hosting this content. And then what will YouTube do? We've seen it in the wake of COVID, the war in Ukraine, et cetera. Go ahead, Philip.
YouTube will be saying, well, we have no choice. I mean, the New York Times published this piece. We have to come to the defense of free, we have to protect democracy. Go ahead, Philip. Sorry.
Well, now that the government's kind of been pushed out of the role of getting to directly act with the social media companies, this is how they have to go around it. This is the pressure. This is the CIA coming in and telling the CEO of YouTube, you need to do what we want. But they can't, if they can't do it directly, now they have the New York Times do it for them.
To work in there as their arm.
So how did Tucker? I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
Really quick, I just have a quick question. How in the heck did they get Tucker's cell phone number? Like, is that just in a database there?
Who knows? Like, I mean, and he's not the only one, which you'll see in a second. I mean, who knows how they got it?
Well, we know that Tucker was spied on by the NSA as he was setting up an interview with Putin. So the government could have just as easily passed this along through indirect channels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know that the New York Times is a mouthpiece of the CIA and the deep state. And all they have to do at the New York Times is just call up their sources at the NSA and say, hey, I just need a little help here. I need Tucker's phone number. Nevertheless, how did Tucker respond? It's classic Tucker. So he says, thanks for your time. And so Tucker responds, so the New York Times is working with a left-wing hate group to silence critics of the Democratic Party. Please ask yourself why you're participating in it. This is why you got into journalism. It's shameful. I hope you're filled with guilt and self-loathing for sending me a text like this. Please quote me. And the guy responds, Nico responds, thank you for your prompt response. Would you like to address any of the above points or questions above? And Tucker responds, would I like to participate in your attempt to censor me? No thanks. But I do hope you'll quote what I wrote above and also note that I told you to fuck off, which I'm now doing. Thanks. Golf clap.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Tucker this morning about this, and he said he's just trying to keep himself amused at this point because these people are evil. That's what he told me. And I think these people are demonic, honestly. I think that
his text betrays a confidence that he does not have, this Nico, because you have to think that he's a peon who's doing the bidding of the U.S. government, thinking that he's doing right, probably because he's too young to know the difference, but also peeing his pants.
Oh, yeah. So this guy is peeing his pants because he then locked his Twitter account down because the backlash was swift and immediate. Here is Nico Grant now locking down his Twitter posts. These posts are protected. You can't see them anymore at the New York Times. You're a New York Times reporter and we can't see your tweets unless you've approved us to see them? Yeah.
He looks quite young.
Oh, I know. And actually, a lot of people saying he's clearly young, and hopefully you'll, do an about face. Like, this will be a moment in your life where you'll realize, like, hey, I really screwed up here. I was doing the bidding of the deep state and these communists.
Well, somebody put him up to this.
Of course.
That was, and you're kind of hanging this kid out to dry a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, who's going to text Tucker? Oh, I know. Let Nico do it. Yeah, Nico will text anybody.
Right.
Let Nico do it. He's a tech reporter at the New York Times, and he's a tech reporter that covers YouTube and Google. That's his beat. Like, that's what he does.
And Tucker does him a kindness by saving his number under his name so that we can't see it, because I can only imagine this guy would have changed his phone number by now from the responses he would have got.
So Ben Shapiro also, and a number of conservatives were also hit by this. Ben Shapiro had this. He says, if you were wondering what the legacy media would plan for its October surprise, wonder no longer. It is here. Today, I received the following text from a reporter at the New York Times and literally asks the same things, almost verbatim, save like a clip that he mentions of his specificity for Ben Shapiro. So Ben Shapiro responds, what precisely is the New York Times doing? It's perfectly obvious. It's using research from Media Matters, which is a radical left-wing organization whose sole purpose is destroying conservative media in order to pressure YouTube to demonetize and penalize any and all conservatives 1 week from the election. Ben Shapiro then writes, that's the entire game here. Run an article in America's, quote, most trusted newspaper that declares pretty much every major conservative a purveyor of misinformation on YouTube, thus strong-arming YouTube into taking action against conservatives. Then he says, this is totally scandalous. In 2020, the legacy media shut down dissemination of the Hunter Biden laptop story and laundered the claim that it was all Russian disinformation, all to get Joe Biden elected. Then he says in 2024, they're even more brazen. They're openly trying to intimidate YouTube, one of the most dominant news platforms in America, into shutting down anyone who isn't pro-Kamala. He's right. Zero Hedge even getting in on this today. One of the largest and most read websites in the world. Zero Hedge tweeted this. It's not just the New York Times and Media Matters. NewsGuard has also been mobilized. The entire censorship industrial complex is in full-blown meltdown over the disaster of Kamala Harris right now. I added that part, but that's why they're in a meltdown mode right now. So NewsGuard, New York Times, Media Matters, this is your October surprise. The massive media silencing of conservative voices. And we saw it yesterday on YouTube. If you did a search for Trump Rogan interview, Trump Rogan full podcast interview, it doesn't matter. Here I did it just before the show just to show you again. Trump Rogan, search. Nothing. News at the top. There's a clip from The Rising. There's a ABC News reaction. Watch Mojo's reaction, 12-minute clip, 15-minute clip here. Another 15-minute clip, 20-minute clip. Not the 3-hour interview. Here's a 6-minute clip. Here's Megyn Kelly's response. Oh, and then people also watch these other choices. So we're done giving you search results. Here's some other things we think you'd like to watch, like this. Mark Cuban on why he dumped Trump. Why do you think when I type in Trump Rogan, I want to see a freaking interview with Mark Cuban on CNN about why he's now supporting Kamala Harris? Oh, continue scrolling all the way down. You can see it. Keep going all the way down. No interview. The Rising's response, all these companies, ABC News's, Fox News's response, shorts, and then clips from like a year ago. Oh, there's Trump on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from the 1990s. That's relevant. Here's Bill O'Reilly and I mean, Jon Stewart. That's relevant. Here's Saturday Night Live. That's relevant. So do any search you want. Unless you specifically go to Trump Rogan's page, you won't be able to find it. So what did Joe Rogan do? He posted it on X this morning or overnight, I think. And now at this point, as of 10:21 p.m. last night, had 5 million views in just like a short amount of time. He says, since there's an issue with searching for this episode on YouTube, here's the full podcast with Trump. There you go. So this all happened at the same time within like a 24-hour period. The mobilization of the media and the attempt to silence these conservative voices. So here we go, folks.
They just don't understand why their attempts to promote the Democratic Party and thereby themselves and their own self-interest is not working. The polls are showing them that their influence is waning, and they're just so confused.
Yeah,
it's very confusing.
Well, we got more news too.
Wielded such power in a bad way.